Bitcoin keeps going lower. I will show you today what I believe how low we can actually go and from where we potentially will turn back to the upside and how much FOMC will impact Bitcoin's price action. Let's go. Thank you so much for tuning in here on this Wednesday. Oh shit, my laptop is almost dead. Yeah, that is bad. So I have to try to rush through this here. So today, FOMC, in a little bit more than 5 hours, we're going to get a new FOMC decision. So for now, the forecast is telling us that we should not get a rate cut here. 99.9% says that we get no rate cut, and with what's going on in Iran and Israel, that makes it actually even less probable that we will get a rate cut because inflation is back on the table. Trueflation is already back, so the real inflation is here measured. It's over 2%. It was as low as 1.95% or 1.9% a couple months ago, but now it's basically back, and that's because of the uncertainty with the war driving inflation up again, and that could lead to Jerome Powell will have a really different perspective than he would have had like 3 weeks ago. And also what he will potentially say tonight that could completely be different than what he actually had planned. And yeah, that is of course not good for the market. So you see here also when we're going here into the live news, just recently there were again huge attacks carried out by Israel. Then here, what was here 8 minutes ago? Yeah, okay, flight cancellations, nobody really cares about that. Never too late to negotiate 28 minutes ago. So yeah, so this stuff that we actually want to see. We want that they come to the table, negotiate, and stop the war, because that will of course then also be really helpful for yeah, the financial economy on a global stage, you know. So that's what we want to see. So when we're going then into the DXY, the DXY is back in that bear flag here, or a bearish pennant, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so we got yesterday here a pump. I was not really surprised by that pump because of the war, but now we're coming down here a little bit, depending on what Powell will say, depending on if he's dovish or hawkish. We could see continuation to the downside. If he comes out hawkish, then of course we will go higher, closer to the 100-point level once again. So for Bitcoin, there's multiple scenarios currently on the table. One is here this W pattern that we are shaping up on the 1 hourly chart with continuation all the way up to $108,280 approximately. But this will only happen if, first of all, there's no rate cut. That's basically already priced in my opinion. And Powell will then in the conference be dovish and really lenient with future rate cuts, and basically announce here maybe potentially next month we're going to cut rates if everything stays like this and the war ends, etc., whatnot. But for this to be happening, first of all, we have here technically some resistance from the VPVR at around $105,000 currently. So we need to reclaim that level, and then also the point of control at $105,553 needs to be reclaimed here, so that we can further move here into higher levels once again. I will show you here the technical target of this W pattern. So if we would actually break here to the upside, and then this W pattern would get us to $107,400 approximately, exactly into here a short-term resistance area. So here is some resistance up there. So we basically go here into, oh here, actually I had here this block. So here in this resistance area is where we would go back into. So which makes a lot of sense to me if that would be happening. Then here on this 1 hourly chart, the bullish pennant that we had here has created one deviation to the upside. Now potentially a deviation to the downside, but this deviation will be only confirmed if we actually complete this W pattern that I just spoke about and break back into the bullish pennant and start moving to the upside. So only then this will be confirmed as a deviation. We need to break out of that pennant here to the upside to do that. Otherwise, we might see a rejection from there and go low. I will also lay out that case just in a minute. And here on this 1 hourly chart, we have luckily not put in a lower low yet compared to this low at around $102,600 approximately. And the stochastic is potentially trying to create here a buy signal. So, but now let's talk about the case that Powell will be hawkish rate cut is not priced in. So what would happen then is basically that here. So hawkish outcome, we move to the upside. That would be the case if we get no rate cut. Let's say we get, based on the no rate cut decision, a small pump into that resistance here of $106,000, which is not that far away. You know, so it's like a 1.2% move to the upside, then come back down, get a lower high, and then we break the current support level and start moving lower. The other case, no rate cut, which is obvious at this point, but dovish Powell, and then we start moving here back to the upside. So these are the two scenarios for the FOMC meeting, in my opinion. Technically, there are a lot of factors that Bitcoin should continue to go up. But here on the 4-hourly chart, for example, the worst case that I can see for Bitcoin, the absolutely worst case, with everything being totally negative today, maybe even a further escalation of the war, you never know. The bottom here of that trading range at $103,000 should technically hold. Even so, that means that we are closing a candle. The candle will be closed above that level. Even if we would get a wick, I'm still not expecting that we break this low here right now. For now, I don't see that we break that low. Can we break that low with a wick? Potentially. We would also take down all the liquidity, and we would get closer to the 0.5 level on the Fibonacci extensions. With that, in confluence with that, I would expect then a bounce, because there's a lot of confluence around this level here. So here I have two different trading setups. Would be that you trade when we hit the bottom here. Like I said, depending on how Powell will come out later, there is a chance that we drop here back to the bottom. You take the trade from here, and you have the stop loss slightly below that low here, slightly. So give it here 1.2% stop loss. So, and the target is the prior high over here. So you have here 5.5% move roughly to the upside that you can take advantage of with a 1.2% stop loss. So that is definitely a really, really good trade. So where should you take the trade? Of course, on Blowfin, guys. You get up to $5,000 in deposit and sign-up bonuses there. And I want to mention here something for the trading group. Don't forget, in the first 2 days, we almost made 50% here on that trading account. So we have still trades running there. If you want to be part of that, you have to sign up with my link in the pin comment below and deposit $500 and follow the steps that are all in the description and the pin comment below. There are all the steps. Something else I want to mention, if you have already a Blowfin account, even then you can join if you have at least $500 in this account. So again, follow the steps, just leave the first one out, you know, that you use my link, but contact me and my team either on Twitter or on Telegram, and we're going to explain you then how to actually do that, you know. So it does not involve that you move any money, you know, so just don't get scammed, guys. Don't get scammed. It involves not moving any money. You know, there's something that we can do eternally with Blowfin, that you will be part of that. So yeah, reach out to me for that. And otherwise, you know what to do. Sign up with the link, deposit $500, reach out to me, join with the link. That's it. Would be not too late. And potentially tonight I'm going to send also some more trades here once again. Oh, I have to move with the laptop because soon the battery will give up. I thought I charged the laptop while I was sitting here earlier. Is giving me hope here in the mid to long term is that the funding rates for Bitcoin, on the other hand, are declining and are absolutely starting to be negative right now. And usually when the funding rates are negative, they're never staying long negative. So that's also really, really important that you understand this. Funding rates never staying long negative. And then when they turn positive again, so here funding rate heat map, positive again, that is usually coincided with a pump. So look at this here, even if I pull it all the way back, you know, so Bitcoin is not there, you know. So if I go here, I don't know, it just stays green, you know, for Bitcoin. So yeah, some coins are overheated, like Hyperliquid, you know, I'm not surprised with that. You know, H/Ape, they did good, Fartcoin in the past, you know, so, but otherwise not really anything crazy here. So the most important thing is Bitcoin is not overheated when it comes to funding rates, is actually negative, which means that right now, having a long would be better than having a short in terms of funding rate farming, if you are in stuff like that. Now on the MDX algo scalp gradients, also here I see a sign that I don't really like, which also lets me lean a little bit more to the bearish side. This plot that we see down here, so which is usually a reversal plot, which means that we should go back to the upside, but it has not a good track record for continuation to the upside, because look here, we got one. What happened? Short-term bounce, then we went lower. Short-term bounce, then we went lower. See what I mean? So for a down, like for a reversal, this is not a good indicator. So when we get something like this, I get cautious. So because maybe here this small pump to the upside, maybe that was already that bounce. So and now we come back into lower levels. And so just wanted that you are aware of that. So even though the candlesticks color gradients are here cooling down again, potentially coinciding with the FOMC meeting, I could imagine that we get here some green candles. And if we get green candles, that means we are moving at least, like I just mentioned, to $103,000 before we potentially move up again. So here also this line needs to be now adjusted. It's not accurate anymore, so we are technically still here within that pennant. So on the reactive indicator also here I see a little bit more downside before we continue up, because we are pointing down. We are here in a bearish territory on that indicator. We need two dot plots like over here to get a proper move, and as long as we are not getting them, we will most likely be range bound or continue to go lower until we actually get them. On the daily chart, however, things are looking here on the higher time frames a little bit better. As long as we are holding here, there's the super guppy, the super trend. As long as we are holding this band here, we should be fine. Break this band to the downside, like here, and we will have a substantiated downtrend that we don't want. So currently we are also still within where we find support at around $102,900, which is again coinciding with the $103,000 level, where we have definitely major support, and slightly below that here, $102,000 is also an extended golden ratio coming in from the all-time high to the all-time low on the higher time frames. That should also definitely right now act as major support. The last time we got a big bounce from there straight the next day, a massive candle back to the upside. So I definitely don't see us going lower than $102,000, but even though it's just a 2% move to the downside, it will have grave consequences to our altcoin bags. Definitely. So here, currently, I would like to see that we're not breaking yesterday's low, which is at $103,500, and stay above that low, and keep pushing back here above the super guppy, and keep consolidating here above $105,750. On the liquidation levels, we have now started also here to break down from that symmetrical triangle. I could see to grab liquidity, like I said, to $103,000. Also here, again, confluence around this level. They will potentially grab here liquidity. Then we have the majority of over-leveraged liquidity taken out. And you see here shorts are piling up again. Over-leveraged shorts are piling in here with 100x leverage, which is insane, to the downside here. Starting from $106,100 all the way up to $110,000. And I can promise you one thing: the moment that we are starting to liquidate here these levels, we are not stopping anymore until we hit $110,000 or go even past that. It's not going to happen anymore. The only thing that makes me a little bit concerned about the current situation is also that we're getting here right now a death cross. Basically in 3 hours. In 3 hours we are getting here another death cross. I again think that this might be a fake out where we just wobble around like what we did over here, and then get a golden cross, and then we get continuation. But this can go on for like 10 days. I give it 7 to 12 days before we potentially turn around. But that depends also heavily on the outcome of the FOMC meeting and what's happening with Israel and Iran. So if they have now a substantiated prolonged war, and they are really crazy and threatening each other with nuclear weapons, then expect Bitcoin to do something like this. So only in that case I see that happening. So if everything stays as it is right now, it de-escalates at some level, then we will just be range bound until this is settled, and then we get that move to the upside. On the liquidation heat map, also here, let's have a quick look. We have already taken major liquidity that was below us. As you can see here, $103,000 again, major level. That is in alignment with everything what I just said earlier. So like I said, from there, here all the way down to maybe $102,600. Afterwards, I expect to really start moving back to the upside, and upside liquidity is here at 106,400 to 100, yeah, basically $110,000 approximately. You know, so we would trigger a short squeeze once we are breaking above $105,800. That short squeeze would stop $1,000 later, and then we will be range bound again before we get the next push into the 110,000s for Bitcoin. On the daily chart, still holding on to the 50 moving average. For today, I definitely could imagine that we get here a quick step below, which we got already today, but lower than what we got so far, then come back up, then continuation. So, but for this also, the stochastic is here right now at 30%. There could be another 2-3 days of prolonged downwards movement, like I said, depending on what's happening later, even though the RSI is slightly turning around and the MACD is still not looking too bearish to me. You know, so if I zoom out here, compare here the size of these candles for that move here into the 50 moving average, and look how they're currently looking. You know, so this, you see already here also the difference. You know, so here this downwards move, and look at this one. You know, so percentage wise they're not the same. You know, so the first one was way bigger than the second one. At least, yeah, like 20-25% bigger than the other one in size, you know. So and that's why not too bearish here, not too insanely bearish on the daily chart right now, because that can quickly change, especially if we get here at some point a nice bounce back to like $105,000-$106,000. The altcoin market is of course bleeding in that whole turmoil right now. As you can see, we put in a dragonfly candlestick formation here, which is also a reversal, a strong reversal to the downside, the way that we got this here. So worst case scenario is that we come back to $778 billion or to the bottom here of that downward sloping channel, but this is so close, you know, so it doesn't make a huge difference if we hit here 778 or come to the line, because they are, most likely, if it's happening after tomorrow, they're in the same spot, you know, it's the same spot. But from there, I expect another bounce back to the upside. You can also clearly see the last time we got a nice bounce here, and that should be the same thing if we actually reach that level. So currently we're sitting here at support. Yeah, so there you see here that dotted line. So currently we're sitting at support, but if we're not bouncing here at some point or close the candle above that level, we most likely go a little bit lower. Then the Bitcoin dominance is of course on a rampage, because people selling the altcoins running back into Bitcoin. We are above 65%. We can go as high as 65.24%, but again, then I definitely expect at some point that turnaround that we are waiting so long already for position. So I had actually set some limit orders to get stopped out, and they did not work. Don't ask me why, they just didn't work. So that's why I'm still here in all my trades, which I shouldn't have been, but it's fine. You know, my Bitcoin trade is still in profit. My Ethereum trade a little bit underwater. Solana is still in profit. The rest is a little bit underwater, but I keep holding them. I have still some some hope that this will turn around. Again, if you want to trade with me on Bybit, guys, and copy trade me there, then sign up and get up to $30,000 in sign-up and deposit bonuses with the link in the pin comment below and the description below. Plus that the next $500 to $10,000 challenge will most likely happen on Bybit, but that is still like 2-3 months away, or depending on how quick we are on Blowfin with the challenge. So, but if you want to trade altcoins, do it with me on Bybit, guys. Then now when we're looking at Ethereum is coming down to the upward sloping trend line of that ascending triangle that we are forming here. We are currently still fighting more or less with the 0.382 level, the Fibonacci extensions. We have also here a lot more time to just consolidate, you know. So Ethereum does not look bad, in my opinion, you know. So unless we start to deviate here to the downside, or even do something like this and only then come back up with a V shape or with like inverse head and shoulders or something like that. So here it looks different with that bull flag that we're forming here. So here we're testing right now the upward sloping support line. So if we would break below that today, like I said, then we start to deviate from that pattern, and then it depends on what happens, if we come straight back into it, or if we actually keep moving here, chopping like this, you know, and then this pattern is completely invalidated. For now, like I said, I lean still more to the bullish side for Ethereum because the stochastic is bottoming out here today, giving us a buy signal for tomorrow. Yeah, DMACD, again, super small candle. It's not really worried about the shape of the candles here. And the RSI will easily turn around if we get a small push here back to the upside. The next coin is Solana. So here also on 4-hourly chart, we are flatlining already at the bottom of stochastic RSI. MACD is a little bit bearish here, a little bit more bearish than other coins earlier. And the RSI is pointing to the downside. So here we are testing right now a huge buy cluster at around $145 all the way down to $141. If we come here into that green box here, guys, just around $140, buy as much as you can, you know. So I would actually go and set limit orders there. Yeah, you can make the case for a pennant here if you wanted to, but I don't like that there's not like a real upsloping trend line, you know. Not a huge fan of that. And that's an, oh wait, I have a little bit space here. Let's see, can we get this? Yeah, still not the biggest fan how this looks, you know. Usually on the other hand, if you want to play it safe, you have to watch this downward sloping trend line. And once the trend line is broken, you can enter this safely, because then I think we are ready to go to the upside. Otherwise, I still believe here in that buy cluster or here in that block below, these are good DCA levels to start building a position. Again, if you want a more safe level to enter, or if we don't reach this level, enter from $147, because that would mean we turn around and start moving in here also back to the upside. So, but as you can see here, we are flatlining here, you know, so a bounce is coming here at some point, you know, so it's not that far away anymore. Doge, same thing. So we are already in my buy zone here on the daily chart. I would definitely start building a position also here on Doge right now, all the way down to basically 16 cents. And once we're breaking this downward sloping trend line, so this is a multi-month resistance line. If I go here a little bit further back, here, look at this. So this is coming from last year, December. So once we are breaking this, expect a God candle on Doge. So this is a really, really good level to build a position. So now imagine you enter from here and we get the God candle. You could be up 50-60% on spot. Now you put 3x leverage on that. You are up 150-180% on your Doge position if you enter from here with low leverage, you know, like 2-3x, and you can increase it when we break above that downward sloping trend line. And then the next one is Hyperliquid. So Hyperliquid is now getting a real nasty rejection here. So this might have been a short-term top in my opinion. But we have seen stuff like this here before, you know. Look here at this higher high, then we came down here. So we went to $40, went back to $30. This is kind of like the same thing playing out here again in my opinion, you know. So and now that we broke also here the support block, if we are not closing this 4-hourly candle above the 0.5 level, I would try to long this from the 0.382 level, where I would long this from, and yeah, I would keep my take profit at $42.68. So, but if we close above the 0.5 level with the candle body, then I would try to long this from there and keep the original target. So that would be then my trade setup, and that would be a little bit more profit of 19.6%. So whatever happens, I have both scenarios laid out here. Shorting, in my opinion, makes no point. There's no point in shorting this anymore because the stochastic is already flatlining, the RSI is pointing down, the MACD is pointing down. Yes, there is maybe a little bit more downside, but what do you want to squeeze out of this? You know, another 2, 3, 5%, and you have to use huge leverage and take huge risk to try to make actually money. You know, so that's not worth it to me, especially that we're so close to this downward sloping trend line from that former falling wedge here. So there's no point for me to try to short this here, and we are running also into support from here, that whole area over here. I'm so bad with trackpad drawings. So over here and over here, everything in between here is support between these two lines. So we are so close to it, you know, there's no point for me to try to squeeze here another 2-3% or even let it be 5%, you know, so trying to squeeze, yeah, no, it's 3%, it's roughly 3%. Yeah, to squeeze another 3% with high leverage out of this. No point, you know, so I rather try to long that from these areas for that bounce that's potentially coming. Guys, that's it for today. Watch FOMC, let's see what's happening. Don't forget, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and I hope I see you with a bigger portfolio